Good morning to you. I'm here to give you an intro about trust quotient. Basically, what I'm trying to draw your kind attention is to understand what are the components involved in being trustworthy. We do many things and we say many things, and during our interaction, how does the customer perceive us? Does he perceive us as trustworthy? So, from that point of view, I propose to bring few thoughts in this part as to what is the trust quotient. The outcome of this presentation will help us to know as to what is the component or what are the components involved in a trust quotient. So, what is the first component when we talk of trust quotient? There is a credibility. Now, we have done many actions and we have demonstrated with our engagement with the client, but generally, based on the experiences the client has with you, credibility would mean uh, basically they tend to believe in what you say. They see you as a logical and a clear person. Your credentials are very strong. You know how to communicate. And basically, you not only talk about what you do, you actually exemplify or demonstrate the, the expertise what you have. Having understood the first component of credibility in trust quotient, the second component which we all need to appreciate is reliability. How reliable are you? How people will perceive you? Do they feel comfortable with you when you deal with them? Are you consistent in terms of your words and actions? Do you generally keep your word? More importantly, how predictable and how steady are you in terms of your dealings with your clients? And what matters is, do they or can they depend on you in terms of delivering what they want? That would be a very important aspect of the trust quotient, which is credibility. Having discussed about the first component, which is credibility, and the second component, which is reliability, let us now discuss the third component, which is part of the numerator in the trust quotient, which is intimacy. So, what do you mean by intimacy when we deal with our clients at a professional level? Basically, what it would mean is that when you are dealing with your clients, or rather, as a matter of fact, dealing with anyone, do they feel safe around you? Are they comfortable in sharing their inner thoughts with you? And generally, do they perceive you as a person who is discreet? And are you empathetic in terms of understanding where he comes from, why he is behaving, what are his concerns? And most importantly, do they take you into confidence, which they may not even share with their partner? This would mean that there is an intimacy between you and the client. In the trust quotient, as I told you in the beginning, there are basically four components. Three components in the numerator and one component in the denominator. I have discussed the three components which are part of the numerator, that is credibility, reliability, and intimacy. Now let me discuss another factor which is part of the denominator in the trust quotient, which is self orientation. What do you mean by self orientation? Now, when we say self orientation, in fact, to put things up front, let me say that whatever you do in the interest of the client. And if you have a lower self orientation, that means you don't do anything which is orient to self, but if you do something orient to the client, that would mean better, which means lower the self orientation, the better people will feel comfortable about you. That means, do you care about your commissions, or do you care about the solution and the benefits which gets accrued to the client? Do you suggest something with an ulterior motive in mind, or do you recommend something where you may get more brokerage or more commission, whether it's upfront or trail commission or what? The primary point here I'm using this example is to ensure that when we deal with others, we are not anchored to a particular outcome, or we are not prejudging or giving something which the customer may not be aware. We are here basically to help achieve the client goals, and we feel that when we help them achieve their goals, we are also achieving ours, which means client interest is paramount. We are client centric. Therefore, we need to have a lower self orientation. So, you need to understand self orientation from that perspective. So, having understood the four components, that is the credibility, reliability, intimacy, and self orientation, finally we can say, let us understand the trust quotient. What are the components in this equation? So, the numerator would be the sum of credibility, reliability, and intimacy. The sum of this divided by self orientation. And even if you were to take a scale of 100 per component, you summarize the total components: credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self orientation. You will have then your trust quotient. This will determine what how trustworthy are you in terms of your own understanding or your own diagnosis of it, and how trustworthy the clients perceive you.